Okay, so one new idea that we're introducing today is this idea of a sign pattern chart. Another new idea is a theorem which I call the min-max theorem. I've actually searched for some sort of official name for this, and I can't really find it. Seems like everyone kind of calls it something different. So we'll just call it the min-max theorem. I'm reminded of the min-max theorem because the question up here says, what is the minimum value of f? What is the minimum value of f? Okay. The min-max theorem says that f will be, because they're asking for minimum, I'm going to write the theorem as though it's just the minimum theorem, but the wording is basically the same for maximum. Okay? So f will be least, lowest, smallest, a minimum. Okay, they'll use all kinds of words. But f is lowest. Now when we say f is lowest, we mean the y-coordinate, not the x. The values of f are the y-coordinates of f. So we're looking for f as its lowest y-coordinate. So f will be least at the beginning back up, end, so the beginning or end of f. There's a few different ways to write this. I'll probably do it a little different each time. Okay, f will be least at the beginning or end of f, or where f prime is equal to 0, or f prime is undefined. Okay, that's the theorem. Always works. Here's why. Please make sense of the why. If you make sense of the why, remembering the theorem is a lot easier. So just keep asking until you're like perfectly like, hey, that makes really good sense. I can memorize that. So here's possibilities. If f happens to look like this, then f will be lowest right here. And this works for highest as well. We're just doing lowest as an example. This is a spot where the slope of f is 0. That's where f will be lowest. Okay? Another possibility is f looks like this. This sometimes happens as well. In this case, f is simply lowest right here at the end of f, the last point on f. That has happened on AP questions as well. F can be lowest at the last point on f. F could look like this. I've seen that be an AP problem. F is lowest right here, where the slope of f is undefined. Please.
What is the corner that was like
So just draw it in the air again.
So like if we're the opposite.
So if f looked like this, I didn't want T, I wanted X. Sorry, hold on. So I think this is what Josh is saying. If f did something like this,
Yeah, it's still undefined.
this is where f would possibly be highest, where f is undefined. Because remember, the theorem applies for the highest and the lowest. So the theorem really says, f will be greatest and or least at the beginning, the end, or at one of these points where f prime is either 0 or undefined. So in this situation, this place where f prime is undefined would be where f is highest. And then this spot over here, where f reaches its lowest value, that's the end point, that's where f is lowest. Because f is always highest and lowest at either the beginning of f, the end of f, or where f prime is 0 or f prime is undefined. Point. Other question? So be okay with the theorem. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. We're trying to find where the lowest value on f is. I've never seen them ever allow points for simply graphing this and just looking at the graph of f and saying, hey, I can see where f is lowest. They won't give you points for that. You have to use a different technique. So I like a sign chart for this problem as well because I can't use a calculator. So I want to make a sign pattern chart. And I'm going to make a sign pattern chart of f prime. So f is equal to x ln of x. So I want to make a sign pattern chart of f prime. So find the derivative of f prime. Sorry, find the derivative of f real quick. Go. So find f prime. Stop me if you have a question. How many got this? Should we have 2 points? Question? We need to show more detail. Okay, again, we want to make sure we don't lose track of the y. So look over here. I'm trying to find out where f, okay, one thing that happens a lot at this point in the class is because you're switching back and forth between using f and using f prime, some people get lost in the steps. They lose track of the big picture. So let's don't do that. So here's the y. I'm trying to find where f is least, the lowest point on f. Okay, I know that can happen at the beginning of f, the end of f, or where f prime is 0 or undefined. But I also know a sign chart typically helps me. Here's why. If I can figure out where f prime is positive and negative, I'll be able to see where f goes up and down. Knowing how f goes up and f goes down helps me see where f is lowest. We need to talk through that again. That's the why. That's why I'm doing a sign chart. Okay, over here, again, I think I mentioned this a minute ago. Don't ever do a sign chart with terms that are adding or subtracting. Here's a term added to a term. If you try to do a sign chart with terms that add, you run into a dilemma. You hit places where you'll be trying to add a positive and a negative, and you don't know what a positive and a negative added together are because you don't have any numbers. We need me to go through that again. So I cannot chart these two terms. There's nothing to factor, so I have to just chart all of it. So let's see, one big clue. I want to start at 0. I do not want to chart negatives. You need to notice that, otherwise you'll have trouble. So hands up, you can talk to each other. Why do I know that I do not want to chart negatives? Feel free to talk to each other, raise your hand when you know. How do I know that I don't want to chart negatives? Anybody know? Hands up. Everybody knows. Who knows? Why do I not chart negatives? I heard Sophie say.
You can't have a ln of a negative or a
Perfect. Natural log of 0 or negative, so 0 as well, natural log of 0 or negative is undefined. So there's no sense putting any x values that are negative. Nobody knew it? 0.2 for Sophie. Okay, so we're going to chart this. So ln of x plus 1. Okay, now I need to have memorized this formula. Natural log of e to any exponent is just the exponent. There are not a lot of values that I can find for natural log. I don't have them memorized. You're not supposed to. But there's a few I can find very quickly. I want to figure out what makes this 0 first. That's the key. So I need to figure out what makes this negative 1. Questions on that? Like, I've got to figure out what x will cause this to be negative 1. It's up here is the key. E to the negative 1. So if I have natural log of e to the negative 1, that's exactly the same thing as negative 1. E to the negative 1 is really 1 divided by e. E is about 2.7, so this is pretty close to about 1/3. So in my chart, right here, I'm going to have 1 over e. I'm going to mentally remember that's about 1/3-ish. You know, it's not exactly, but kind of that vicinity. Waiting to go through that again, just wait.
Why are we trying to have it equal 0?
Oh, 2 points. 3, 4, 5. Seriously. The question is that valid because making a sign chart, it is crucial that you identify what value of x will cause the item on the row, the factor, to equal 0. Because once we know where the 0 occurs, we only have to test on either side.
Oh, I see.
So we have to find the 0 first.
Okay.
It's crucial. Please.
How do we use like the ln and the e?
Say again, Justin.
So does like the EA just like cancel out the natural log, or like?
The details of that, I'm not sure I want to spend a lot of time on, but it's because of the fact that natural log and e are inverse functions of each other. So just like, it's the same basic idea. 2 multiplied by 1/2 is 1. Because multiplication and division are inverse operations of each other. So natural log and e are inverse operations of each other. So this formula, natural log of e to the a, just becomes a. That's kind of that's not a very good explanation. That's the general idea. Okay. For our class, that's good enough for now.
So I know you said like it's not good to have the adding terms, or like, so like how come is it okay here like the ln of x plus 1?
Gotcha.
Does that affect it?
Hey, everybody look up. 5 for Josh. Look. No, mark him down. His question is just as crucial as Elena's. You've got to make sure that, hey, if I'm making a sign chart for this expression, I've got to find what value of x will make this 0 to start with. The other caution on a sign chart, super important, is to make sure that what you're charting is not later going to be added to something. Like, you don't want to do this. ln of x, 1, and then put f prime. Because f prime would be this added to this. That's where you're going to run into trouble. Because you'll have like negative and positive. You don't know how to add them. So don't make a sign chart where you're going to have to add the rows. But what we're doing is we are really making a sign chart of f prime right away because we just don't have any choice. So we're okay with that. Other than I put it too close so I can't see the chart. Did that answer your question, John?
Yeah. Thank you.
Good questions. Anything else? So I know if x has a value of 1 over e, about 1/3, the natural log of 1 over e is going to be negative 1. added to 1 will be 0. So I didn't any conflicts there. That all makes sense to me. Wade, if you need me to talk through it again.
Like going back to these, it's like whatever. Like, so you have like right here E equals E raised to the power of 1 equals whatever E. Like, so how do we use like the ln E negative 1 to make that equal negative 1?
So we're just using this relationship. That the natural log of E to any value will be just the value. So using that formula, I know this to be true.
Okay.
I just have a little bit of a hard time knowing what the heck.
Oh, is that an equal sign?
Yeah.
Oh, that looks like an, on the ln A, is that an equal or a minus A?
Right here?
Yeah.
That's equal as well.
Oh, okay.
You good?
Yeah, that makes so much more sense now. I thought it was minus.
You're okay. Just keep asking.
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
I thought that
Just 'cause I got
was
you.
a negative, so I
That
was
makes
like,
total sense. Cursor was probably in your way. Is everybody good? Keep asking. Okay, back to Elena's comment. Look, once I know that for x equal 1 over e, this will equal 0, the chart becomes really quick because I can just test. So I need to find a value over here that I can plug into this formula. The only values you can do in your head with natural log are values related to e. So this is 1 over e. I need something that's smaller but related to e. Hands up if you know what I'm thinking. Come on. A lot of you know. I can need a value that's smaller than 1 over e, but it's got to be associated with e. So what value can go here, smaller than 1 over e, but it's got to be associated with e. I think more of you know than you think. You're just a little hesitant to guess. Please. 1 over 2 is a really good answer. 1 over e squared works a little easier.
Okay.
Here's why. Okay. 1 over e squared works a little better. Here's why. Okay, e is about 2.7. Got it? So e squared is about 8-ish. It's about 1/8. Okay. 1 over e squared is the same thing as e raised to the negative 2 power. So I'm going to have the natural log of e raised to the negative 2 power. Just say it. What value goes here? Negative 2. Okay, so when I plug this into here, natural log of this will be negative 2. Negative 2 plus 1 will be a negative number. We don't care about the numbers, only the positive or negative. Just wait if you need me to go through that again. Okay, test once, you're done. So that means for any of these x values, f prime will be a negative value. Now we need to test over on this side. On this side, there's quite a few options. Just say yes or no, please. Is 1 larger than 1 over e? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So I could use a 1 because you should all have memorized that the natural log of 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 would be a positive number. If you don't have that memorized, please do. Okay? I could have used e. Natural log of e is 1. 1 plus 1 would be 2, hence positive. But I only need to test one spot. Big question. Okay, we've been doing little steps. We did the little steps of finding f prime. We did the little steps of finding the sign chart for f prime. Now we want to go back to big picture. So what I mean by that is go back to the start of the problem, read the question, and see if the new information helps you answer the question. So raise your hand if you remember, why were we making a sign chart of f prime? What was the reason? Show me hands. We did a lot of work. Like we had to find f prime. We had to understand how to make the sign chart. We got kind of bogged down in E. Okay? All that's little stuff. But you can't lose the big picture. So why did we find this? What was the goal? Go, Sydney.
Find when f prime is negative, so then you know what the minimum value can be.
It's very good. We're over here. We now know f prime sign behavior, its sign pattern. So we know kind of what f looks like. I can now draw a picture roughly of what f would look like. So again, don't get mixed up between f and f prime. So f is initially going down. F bottoms out right there. That's at an x-coordinate of 1 over e. And the y-coordinate can be symbolically written as f of 1 over e. We need me to talk through that. We are now drawing f. We use the sign chart of f prime to create what f looks like. When f prime is positive, f goes up. So that's what f looks like. So f is lowest here. Question says, what is the minimum value of f? Okay, value means y-coordinate. So we need to know f of 1 over e. Just wait if you need me to talk through it again. So I go find f of 1 over e. That's going to equal, I'm using, again, don't get mixed up. Sometimes you're using f prime, sometimes you're using f. We're back on f now. So I'm going to plug into f my x-coordinate of 1 over e, so I can find the y-coordinate of f at 1 over e. I think you're starting to realize heavily why this is a forbidden word. Fair? Like if I explain this problem to you and I say things like, oh, it's a piece of cake. Look, all you got to do is take the derivative of that thing, make a sign chart. Like if I don't say f and f prime, you get lost quick. Okay? You've got to keep track of which is which. So here we go. F of 1 over e is going to be 1 over e. I always use parentheses. Multiplied by natural log of 1 over e. Just say it out loud, please. What is the natural log of 1 over e? Say it. Negative 1. Negative 1 multiplied by 1 over e would be negative 1 divided by e. That's the y-coordinate where f has its lowest y-coordinate. Okay? Question? Wow is a good word. Okay? Wow is a good word. Yeah, the key to test 3. Hey, the key to test 3 is knowing the concepts, not the problem. Go ahead.
So like, you may, like the y-intercept, or like this y value here, you just don't know, so you put f of 1. Just because you know it's like f of x almost. So just do that to the y based on what you get. So you had to plug that into the
Yeah.
into the f equation to find
The y value.